Let me tell you how I feel. Now, I love John Paul II to death, and I love Benedict XVI, and he got a bum rap because he has an unfriendly face. But his writings, and he's a very humble man. But I look at Pope Francis. See, I came into the Catholic Church through the ministry of the Franciscans at a retreat center, not at a parish. And I lived at the retreat center. And this community started in the gatehouse of a big estate that was the retreat center in Indianapolis. So we got the gatehouse. And Pope Francis is a Jesuit. He's an order priest. And I feel like I've come home. I don't know how to say it. I mean, it's like, well, okay, we have the stations. I guess I should give a blessing. Would somebody hand me a stole? Oh, here it is. Blessing, stole off. Because when we had Mass with Franciscans and in religious orders, it's a community of equals. One of them, or a few of them, have been trained specifically to be clerical leaders, so they preside at liturgy. But there's not a sense that they are superior to everybody else. You sit in a community of equals. One of them has been trained to do this, so he ought to do it. And he does. And as soon as he does it, well, he's brother so-and-so again. Francis was a deacon. He never received the clerical tonsure, which was a big tonsure. He always received the brother's tonsure. He always wanted to identify with the brothers. I think that's fair. So I love this Pope. I think this Pope, I call it an easy orthodoxy. He's very orthodox. I mean, everybody made this big thing about his thing. Well, who am I to judge with homosexuality? Oh, he accepts homosexuality. No, he didn't say that. He said what the church teaches. We can't judge the individual people. God can do that. We can't do that. Okay? But his approach, his attitude towards orthodoxy is really easy and pastoral. It's not dogmatic and it's not legal. It's very pastoral. And so I really like it. I just hope he doesn't get shot. But I love what he said about that. Did you read that quote about the Pope Mobile and the bulletproof glass? He says, well, we have to choose between two crazinesses. He says it's crazy that a bishop should have to go around in bulletproof glass vehicles. That's crazy. And he says, it's crazy because of maybe one person out of their whole career. And he says, and the one person who might shoot the bishop is crazy. And he says, so if I have to choose between these two forms of craziness, I choose the latter. So in other words, he's saying I would rather be with the people and have this contact and maybe get shot than to be behind bulletproof glass and never get to be with the people and not get shot. And this is just so cool. I agree with him. Okay, yes, ma'am.
I kind of found it interesting. There's kind of a contradiction and tension between stability and conversion, because one seems to be like to stay the same, and the other is a constant change.
Yeah, and conversion is daily.
Right.
You know, Jesus says, "Take up your cross daily."
Right.
But you're converting from instability to stability. Because our world, as it's become more and more secular humanist in its base, has become unstable. Relationships have broken down. Marriages have broken down. The workplace is broken down. Everything is fast, furious, novel, and it creates chaos, I believe, on the psychological level. So Benedictine stability is really, it kind of has a new meaning for us. Francis gave up. See, if you know the history of religious orders, Benedictines, you professed stability to a monastery, and you never left that monastery your whole life. See?
It's the same thing with some cloister.
Yeah, and then with the time of, and it was feudalism. So the feudal lord might travel, but the people in the feudal system, you never left your local area. You never traveled more than maybe 50 miles outside of where your home is your whole life. So with Francis, everything had changed. The feudal system had broken down. A new democratic capitalism was on the rise in Europe. And people were on the move. So ordinary people were going from the class of the minority, the minor, the poor, to the majority, to the majors, and they were actually able to move from one class to the other through doing a job and doing it well, what we would call entrepreneurial activity. So they could be, Francis's own father did that. He became financially successful, and he had to make business trips to France. Francis is named after France because his dad was successful because of the cloth trade business he did with the people of France. His mom wanted to name him John. And his dad says, no, I want to name him after France because I got rich in France. So he's named Francis. So Francis has stability of commitment, but not always stability of place, because the Franciscan friars, when you make your vow of obedience, is to a province, to a region, and really you can go anywhere in the order. So there's one general superior, and things were slowly changing, that there was one general superior over the whole community internationally. Benedictinism never had an abbot primate in the beginning. They had local abbots. That was it. That's all you needed. And the whole notion of centralized government in the secular world was also changing. And so the role of the Bishop of Rome developed, because suddenly we needed something that was more centralized, because the world was becoming more international, because people were trading a lot, moving. So we needed something bigger than just the local leadership. So you have to place all these ancient paradigms into their historical and cultural settings so that we can apply them to where we are in our paradigm, in our life, in a way that really makes sense. For instance, Francis said, don't touch money. Well, that's because they were shifting from bartering that was augmented by the use of coins to the use of coins exclusively as a means of trade. See? And everybody had gone crazy for money. It's like people going crazy for credit today, or crazy for credit cards. And Francis said, look, I'm not even going to touch money, and I'm going to show you I can still be happy. I'm going to become a friar minority. I'm not going to try to go from the minority to the majority. I'm not going to try to be upwardly mobile. I'm going to stay a minority, a poor one. I'm not going to touch money, and I'm going to be happier than you are. And he was. He was. See, so that makes sense, doesn't it? But if you just say, oh, the Franciscans can't touch money, well, that doesn't, you go, well, why not? Everybody else does. And by the way, if you want a hamburger, you've got to. Okay, there's a hand up back here. Yeah, Pete.